Good evening, friends. First and foremost, my apologies because I have to make people wait. But of course, I have had the unique privilege of making an ex-cabinet minister also wait for me. Normally, it is told, people wait for ministers, but if not the current one, at least the ex one has to wait for me. I had that privilege. Now we have something like 35 minutes, 30 minutes. What we would do is we would quickly look at some of the issues, and there are others which are in the form of a book which is outside, and so people who are interested and people who are not interested are encouraged to buy the book. Then people always say, why do you write books, sir? Nobody reads books these days. That doesn't matter, as long as you buy. Uttamam is if you buy and read. Madhyamam, buy. Adhamam is if you don't buy. So I would recommend you strongly, you buy. If you are my student, I would have made you somehow read it by including it in the syllabus and exam and other things. Since you are not. Okay, we had a big crisis in Thailand, Indonesia to some extent. Malaysia was not so much affected. Somewhere in the earlier part of this century. And that was called Asian financial crisis. Then we had something like 4 or 5. Argentina, Chile, maximum impact. Brazil, not so much impact. That was called Latin American crisis. Now we have a problem with Greece, Ireland. Now included in that is France, Spain and Portugal. And that is called global financial crisis. So first, that itself is very peculiar. And there is a crisis in Asia, it's Asian financial crisis. And there is a crisis in Latin America, it's Latin American financial crisis or economic crisis. And there is a crisis in Europe, it becomes a global crisis. And we are also enthusiastically accepted it because we are now wanting to become global. So as part of that. So everybody says global, we also jump into that. And we have to be alert about one thing. All conflicts in the world emanated from Europe. And they have an uncanny knack of including everybody into that. Second World War was a war between Britain and Germany. But people were dying in Burma and Sudan. So the European crisis is made to appear as a, and it is also a very risky thing. It is not going to be easily contained or anything. But what is the crux of the issue? Crux of the issue is this. This is what has happened in the world. In 1990, the G7, original G7, I think most of you know about it. Now it is called G20. Because when there is a crisis, you tend to include more people into the team or into, so you think that the crisis can be sorted out. But the original G7 is still in the main table. Our PM is given a small stool to sit out, in the side. Even though we are part of G20. We are not part of. They had 51% of the global GDP in 1990. And in 2012, already it has happened, they have only 36%. The emerging market on the other side had 35%. Now they have 52%. This is adjusted for purchasing power parity, inflation, so many. We will not go into those technical details. So what essentially has happened is, India, China, Indonesia, Brazil, 4 of the major emerging markets have crossed the 50% barrier. And now it is forecast by 2020 or 22, the G7 will only have something like 25 to 26% of the global share. So there is a phenomenal amount of crisis for whom? For G7, not for us. I do not understand at all why all of us jump and then say we are also in. Our crisis is different. We domestically create our own crisis. And it has got nothing to do with the other type of a. So G7 is irretrievably lost. And they are not going to give up power easily. Let's be very clear about it. Nobody is going to give up power easily. They are not going to just say come and sit in the main table and go with it. So that is the crux of the issue. The axis of economic power has irretrievably shifted from G7 to other countries. particularly in Asia. This is the first one which we should internalize. And in 2007, I think, I was 8, I think, I was interviewed by some channel. How long it will take to recover? I told 40 quarters. That girl was very sharp. She divided 40 by 4 and then 10 years it will take, sir. I told you, 40 by 4 is normally 10. After that, I was never interviewed by any of those channels. Very recently, I was asked how long it will take. I told 80 quarters. And they were more shocked. See, we are teachers. We never want to say that it will never recover. That's not a good way to say. Even a student, when he takes 5 marks out of 200, we say there is a scope for improvement. You never say he is a useless fellow. Nowadays you can't tell because he may take me to human rights commission. The professor says I am useless, how can it be another? So it is not going to recover. That's the most important point we should internalize. Until and unless we internalize this issue, we are not going anywhere. Now, is it an emerging market? No. Emerging market is a terminological terrorism. Among various other things, like Hindu rate of growth, so many things are there. Emerging market, we are not emerging market, we are a re-emerging market. Till 1820, India and China had 50% of the global GDP. Every year, year after year, a famous study, some of you would have heard about, Angus Madison, OECD, sponsored study to find out why these people are doing well. This was to focus on the Japan actually. In 80, Japan was suddenly manufacturing another. There was a huge debate in Europe and US. Where from these fellows have suddenly come? They are supposed to be meditating and Buddhist temples and other things. They are also manufacturing cars. So there was a big shock. So they sponsored this study in Oxford. OECD sponsored this. Hundreds of economists worked on this and found out year after year from the zero, India and China had the 1820 was the period. After that, the decline started. So, primarily, we are a re-emerging economy or retrieving where we were others. I think this is the second point which we should internalize. We are not emerging. We are emerging when it appears that the G7 position is permanent and somewhere we have come up to occupy the place already. And of course, as a quick side point, one can say in 1917, Aurobindo gave a speech where he told 100 years more, the European powers will flourish. 1917 was the speech given by him actually. He told they started their great game in 1820 and 200 years, that means in 1917 he was telling, 100 more years it will continue. Something very, very interesting. Now why they are suddenly into this grief? Because of this. They are phenomenally what in the financial jargon we call leverage. Huge amount of indebtedness. They have borrowed like nobody's business. There are 3 components of borrowing: government borrowing, corporate borrowing and household borrowing. Government borrowing is not a problem, everybody knows. Government can always print notes. We have what is that called Nasik press, right? Which even private people like Telgi sometimes use it, but it's supposed to be with Telgi comes from my state, so I should give him the honor of importance, right? So government debt is not such a huge problem. Corporate debt we all know. Banks have to write it off or something. If you buy 40 lakh, you have to be worried, EMI, I have to pay another thing. If you buy 400 lakh, 400 crore, who will be worried? You will be worried or banker will be worried? The GM will ring up my wife, how is Prof, sir, how is his health? Because I have borrowed. So corporates, and in India everybody knows, corporates can pay, but not the owners. So corporate debt is separate. Household debt is the worst part of the story. You can see that most of those numbers are numbers pertaining to something like last November or something. They have gone up. The number for USA is already much higher than 300%. Our own Britain is 510%. Why our own mean sooner or later we have to run that country, I am telling you. They are in so bad shape, they will hand it over to us, outsourced in terms of their activity. Almost all of them are in the very high range. And if you look at the household debt, that is the most crippling thing. Household debt arising out of home loans, educational loans, everything for that matter. An average American family has got 15 credit cards. Whom to whom it is called on credit basis. From birth to death. Everybody is borrowed to the hilt. So this household debt is the actually weapon of mass destruction, which is staring at their face. And they have lost the English word, 6-letter word called saving. It's been deleted from their dictionary. Saving is either very marginal, 0.751%, or negative in many countries. Household saving. In India, we still save like nobody's business. 32-34%. Highest saving country. Actually. That is another complaint now. Suddenly, you are saving too much. When we were not saving, we were told you are not saving. When we are saving, it is told you are. And there was a conference recently, you should believe me, how to make Indian housewives spend money in Washington. How to make our women spend. They don't seem to be spending. That is a major concern today. So this is something which, and why are they having so much debt? Saving is forgotten. Why saving is forgotten? If you probe very thoroughly, another 6-letter word, family, is gone. And that is the crux of the global crisis. The decline of the family, or loss of what the Archbishop of England told, sovereignty of the family. It's gone. So in the period of last 60 years, what they have consistently done over a long period of time, they have nationalized the families, privatized business. This model will not work, and the same model we want to adopt now. We want to nationalize families and privatize. Nationalizing families, what? Everything is taken care by the state. Tomb to tomb. Old age care, health care, children care. And the family sizes have also come down. Large number of families are single parent family. Single parent is a euphemism, the bogus word used. Actually, it is a single mother family with children. And all those children are financed by the state. This is exactly the nature of the crisis. And for instance, 41% of the births all were to unmarried mothers. Now, New York Times very interestingly says, the concept of illegitimacy is the new norm, new normal. What is the new normal in US? Illegitimacy. Almost every alternate child born is born to unwed people. That's the most. And among Latinos and among blacks, it's phenomenally high. And the state role is becoming extremely high in this area. In order to. So family is gone, saving is obviously as a corollary gone. And because saving is gone, indebtedness are phenomenally increased. The family has not only gone, it has shrunk. It used to be joint family, then it became what are called a nuclear family. Now today it is proton family. One member. Maybe where it will end up. And smaller families, kindly note, are very, very important for large businesses. Businesses do not want large families. If you look back in history, in 1957, US had 4.2 as the average family size. Today it is having hardly 2.1. So there is a huge decline which gave rise to economic growth. Whenever there is a significant decline in the family size, economic growth always takes place. But within its own womb, it creates its own situation. Because what happens when 6 people live and it become, sort of a family of 3 families of 2 each, obviously more soap will be consumed, more refrigerators, more television, more houses itself. 62 million houses were built in US in the last 50 years. Because of the reduction in the size of the family. So that is, and these are some of the, so what I want to stress is, this economic crisis is not something related to the bond yield or, that bond rates are coming down or, something should go up. No. That's not that. That's something much more fundamentally flawed in the entire system. And coupled with that, they have this huge problem of decline in population. Europe had 25% of the global population in Second World War. Sorry, First World War. Every fourth world citizen was a European. Today it is around 10 to 11% and it is expected to become 1.5 to 2%. Europe is literally disappearing from the map of the world. I am of course in one angle happy because my grandson need not have to muck up Budapest is the capital Hungary and other things, which I did throughout my school career. I didn't know whether Norway was capital of Sweden or Sweden was Norway, but we were all, I never was taught what is the capital of Madhya Pradesh. But I was told what is the capital of. So Europe is in terminal decline. They have tried all sorts of things. Extra tax incentives, one more child school is free. Reproductive rate in many of the northern European countries is less than 1. And it is getting obviously flooded by migrants. Europe doesn't want these migrants, but Europe needs these migrants. The other two countries which are suffering is Russia and Japan. Between today and 2020, 100 Russians to it will become 85 Russians. Russia is shrinking in numbers. We are not talking about rate of growth reduction or anything. Japan is another one, which is also shrinking. Japan's problem is much more acute because Japan doesn't encourage migration. It doesn't want any migration. There is a project called Project Aging by the King of Japan. I am also put into that. Maybe I am getting aged. That could be a reason. And they say they don't want migration, and their youngsters are not wanting to marry. So I told them, finally in a meeting, I told you will be coming in National Geography or Discovery Channel soon. There's endangered species, you know. Japanese will be shown. These are the fellows. I took a video of this Parsi group, one of them friends gave to me. I showed it to them. And you know, most important is we should be alert and recognize some of these. No point in going on, you know, chanting the same 60s and 70s type of thing. But we have a big problem. What is our problem? Our umbilical cords are significantly tied to the West. That is the. So we will not recognize that there is a crisis there. We would rather like to be part of it. Because almost all the major policy makers, decision makers have their umbilical cord there. Either they studied there, they lived there, their children are there, their daughters-in-law are there, sons-in-law are there, or they have got bank account there, which is not revealed to others. So somewhere or other, we have a solid umbilical cord. So the recognition that G7 is gone is not going to come easily for us. What is the offshoot of this? Of course, as a corollary, unemployment rate has become very, very large in these countries. Independent of, one of the reasons is the guild or what are called the skills, people are not pushed. And a lot of studies say single parent mothers are not in a position to compel their children to go to these, like our industrial training institute or something. Earlier the utilization in these schools used to be 90%. Now it is as low as 40%. So most of the kids are roaming the streets. They are not. So the unemployment rate in among youth in Europe is 16 to 24. Very strict definition. Because in India it is some 43, 45. All are youth. Youth leaders, youth icons, 55. 60 also I think is youth now, right? But there it is 16 to 24. It's fixed. And 60% is the unemployment rate. And that is the literal what one can call powder cake on which they are sitting. In Portugal, in Greece it is 50%. It's not going to be a easy thing for them to come out of it. What is the offshoot of it? One of the offshoot is, two offshoots of it. One of them is very interesting. These credit rating agencies lost their credibility completely. Greece has sunk, but Greece itself says we are sunk. But the credit rating people told, no, you are triple B and very high. They were begging with the European Bank for some, but these S&Ps and Moody's were not. So the first and foremost I think Indian policymakers should think about is creating alternative institutions. United Nations, World Bank, IMF, all these global institutions, alternate institutions should be created by the emerging markets. There is absolutely no point in trying to cling to the old. And the old, what happened? We have given, incidentally, you should also be all know, many of you may or may not know, we have given $1 billion to Europe to overcome their crisis. 2010, roughly 1% of our GDP. Not even a single newspaper wrote about this facility given by us. Le Monde wrote one paragraph, made it appear that we were privileged to give them. The beggar comes to my home in the night, I give him some free food, and he says, "Sir, you are honored to give me the food." My worry is, before the crisis is over, we may be tempted to give more and more. 1 billion is not, because somehow we feel it is our responsibility to, we have become, white man has become our burden now, instead of the reverse. So this is rating agencies. Other is, of course, the most important is the tax havens. Now all these tax havens were considered as innovative financial centers, modern centers. I remember in Salzburg, in one conference, I brought about this issue in 2002 or something. I was literally thrown out of the conference. You are coming from an underdeveloping country, you do not understand any of these things. These are most modern offshore. Now when the economic crisis started, all these Germany, France and US understood, they know. So they want to unravel the entire tax haven. Tax havens are not very small entities or anything. 2/3 of the global financial flows are through tax havens today. And roughly again 65% of the trade is also through tax havens. So Germany went and stole actually from Liechtenstein. Liechtenstein may be like your Lothian garden size, maybe slightly more. The bank name, the prince name, the country name, everything is one and same. If you jog in that, you will get into the other country. You should be careful. Carry the passport. So they stole the data. The Liechtenstein went on shouting, "We are sovereign." German told, "Keep quiet. We know what you are doing for 20 years. Now enough." And they released the names. The Deutsche Post, his name was Gimmelwald. His name was top name. And then they had some 1700 names available with them. German finance minister told, "This is available to anyone, free. Come and collect." Australia sent people, Sweden sent, USA sent, everybody sent. One country did not send.
India.
So I was surprised actually. I was surprised because something is given free and Indians are not in the queue. This shocked me. So I wrote a letter to him telling, he told, "No, we can't give it to you. You can only give it to what are called sovereign entities. You are only a teacher. But kind enough to write. Right? He didn't write, his assistant. Then what else I can do? I wrote all these leaders. I wrote Advani, I wrote Yashwant Singh. And of course, then there was a general thing we should also do. Then our government also kind enough to write a letter to them and telling our ambassador, don't take it too seriously. We will expedite the thing, but that fellow is a Kurdrace. Kurdrace, you mean he doesn't understand that? He really went and collected the papers and gave it, it's with us only. So that was the first one. And then Germany had a huge collection from Credit Suisse. USA went to UBS, USA told you must give back our 57,000 names. UBS was shocked actually. UBS never ever thought it will travel. So now Switzerland is planning to, because under the Swiss constitution, there is a strict law, not under the Banking Act, under the Swiss constitution. No banker shall ever tell about that client to anyone. It is an offense. He can be put inside jail. Even in restaurant conversation, he can't share it. Let me repeat it. It is not under their banking regulation. It is under their constitution. So now US is telling you amend that constitution. You see, they are all desperate. US, France, Germany. See, when there is a huge economic crisis, middle class in those countries are making huge amount of noises. Why are you allowing these people to? And now the interesting thing is the other side, these 71 tax havens, 71 is the sort of rough estimate. Suddenly they are all telling we are not tax havens. That is the most important thing. They used to advertise in the web page, come to us, we are the tax haven, we give you this advantage. Suddenly all of them have gone. Everybody is telling we are not tax havens. Maybe one can use the analogy, but one may not be able to. So one can tell it light-hearted spirit. I hope the women in the audience will not take me to task. Right? It's something like the what are called item number in the Hindi movies. Suddenly declaring we are not item numbers. What do you do about it? Nothing, right? So the tax havens are now coming. Each one of them, I am telling you, British Virgin Islands, Cayman Islands. Everybody is telling, oh, we are we are more straight and they are very transparent. So do not, Switzerland of course is, but again France same thing, HSBC, France, a couple stole the data. So they stole 55,000 to 60,000 names and then they ran away. Out of that we have got some, because we asked for it and Lagarde was supposed to become IMF chief, we had some vote in that and other thing. He thought by giving this he will get some. Anyway, we have got some. So one of the, what one can call, collateral benefit is huge amount of pouncing on these tax havens by these G7 countries, suddenly. And so as a corollary or as a collateral benefit, we may also get some extra from these type of efforts, not primarily undertaken by us, but by the other type of formulations by the OECD and EU Parliament says we will pass a resolution telling we should close all the tax havens. And finally, IMF has also come around to the view, recently they have published, about the need to close down the tax havens. It's something very, very interesting. So this is, but there will be a lot of pressures on us on two fronts. One front is, there is a huge amount of pressure will be from the NGO side. 85,000 crores have come into India in the last 10 years. FCRE, it's called. The first and foremost thing which we should think is just scrap that act. It doesn't help us anymore and it is not NGO. It's a most bogus name given. Most of them get from government actually. But it is called non-government. It's the most peculiar thing. And they want transparency everywhere, not for themselves. I have tried for the last 10 years to get published data, neat and clean data from top 20 NGOs in India who are shouting every day that there should be transparency. But they are not. So this is something. Because currently, many of you may be aware, our CSR has come. And every company is expected to provide. So use the domestic funds for your, there is no need for Norway and Denmark and other thing to provide funds for us. We are not anymore the white man's burden. We have given 1 billion reverse. So the pressure from the NGOs will be phenomenal. One is of course what one can loosely call political NGOs, who want accountability from everybody, who want to fight corruption. There is a building next year. They are the ATM for them. That is there. Here is the building. Last 10 years, nearly 45 crores they have dispersed on all type of projects. And each of that has become very large, what one can call activity based. So that is one side. Other side is of course what we lovingly call in the bond market. Either you have redemption or you have conversion. That group. In the bond market, when you go and approve the bonds, they say you want redemption or you want conversion. Redemption means the bond will be conversion. So there is another huge NGO group for that. Primary purpose is to make you what we call attain salvation by joining them. So this pressure will phenomenally increase domestically. And we also do not, for instance, FIA and FDA as an example, so much is talked about, so much is written about, so much is debated. Nobody passes to understand. No single year FIA and FDA put together has exceeded 7% of our investment rate. No single year. Let me repeat it, FIA and FDA are pickle to curd rice. But we have made them into curd rice itself. As an example, since I like curd rice, I am telling it. Or you may, if you want, you can say it is chana to some paratha. It's a side dish, it's a small side dish. Significant portion, 90% of our investment has come from domestic saving. This is something which we don't want to recognize and we don't recognize. And of that, again, 85% is from household saving. So if you want to appreciate somebody for economic growth of this country, you must appreciate the housewives of this country. You must have a statue from Kottayam to Kamrup of a lady standing like this. Below that you write, she is responsible for our growth. Have you ever seen any discussion about phenomenal amount of saving undertaken by this group? Well, as we focus so much on this FIN, people say to me, don't yawn, FIA won't come, don't smile, be properly behaved, wear a tie. Because in India, very important, I should tell this, if you have a tie, then tell a lie, then it carries much weight. Otherwise not. The second obsession is the share market obsession. Less than 1% of the financial saving of the household go to share market. We are primarily and predominantly, like every Asian country and Europe, a bank-oriented economy. 60% of the household saving goes to banks and EPFO as well as to other type of pension. But so much is discussed about, and incidentally I teach course on share market. That is a different issue. It doesn't automatically make it. It's an important thing, but it has its own small relevance. That's all. So I think we must focus on whom. On whom means we should focus on the proprietorship, partnership and small businesses which constitute 50% of our economy. And India is the only country in the world where 50% is told as residual. They are considered as residual. Sometimes they are considered as unorganized. That is another thing. They are much better organized and they are our strength. They are completely controlled or suffering from local regulation at state government level. Incidentally, they have a share of 70% in the service sector. They are the fastest growing. 8 to 9% they are growing actually. Annual CAGR, real growth rate. They are growing well. They don't have access to credit. They use the what one can call the outside market, and they are very much problematic in terms of corruption. But everybody says that reforms have brought about the growth. I can tell you with a lot of sense there is no link between reform and growth. Reform is primarily for large businesses. Abolition of your licenses, MRTP Act. Take some 15 or 20 major reform items. None of them have got anything to do with the group which we are talking about. On the other side, you take on the state level, Shops and Establishment Act, Commercial Tax Act, Entertainment, all that you see. None of that have got any significant change. So it's a purely a coincidence that 92 onwards some reform measures took place and the growth, these two are not. The growth is due to household and small businesses out of their own saving and fully for domestic market. That is another important thing. My Chinese colleague always say, in China the products are made in China, but in India the products are made for India. 40% of large number of output in China goes to Europe and US. That's one of the major reasons for their current crisis because of the market. Ours is still, so we are domestic saving driven and domestic output driven, domestic demand driven. So our link with the external thing is relatively less. And there is no need for us to have, we are decoupled, we should continue to be decoupled. I don't think there is any need for us to be very closely coupled or anything. So the second task is, we must align with other emerging markets. Independently, China, Brazil, Indonesia. And we must create alternate institutions. This is an extremely important in the next 10 to 20 years. Because the existing institutions are all crumbling. I told you G7, if 24% is their share, they are not going to have a masterly thing. So I don't think we should be guided only by the Anglo-Saxon situation. And third is, hopefully, we shouldn't emulate failed models. We shouldn't emulate failed models. And they themselves say it is failed. They'll say, no, no, we will also attempt it. That's not going to be a good type of a thing for us. So, for any other questions, formulation, buy the book. Very important. Right? Thank you very much.